covered how us modelers can pretty much take a look at any 3D model, like for example this monster can, and pretty much determine how can I model this within Blender. Now, it relies on two things. It is first of all understanding the details of your model, and second of all starting off with the correct primitive. Now, if you're unaware, a primitive is pretty much your starting mesh or model for your model. So let's say for example that I'm gonna be modeling this can. I'm gonna add a cube and a cylinder. Now I want to ask you a question. What do you think closely represents this can? Is it the cube or is it the cylinder? That's the first starting point of any 3D model. Now of course the cylinder is what best represents this can, so we're gonna delete the lovely cube. Now the second thing is creating what's called just the overall shape or design of the can. So the overall shape or design of the can is to make this a bit taller, like this. Now after you're done with what we call the base model, we're gonna start off with doing the basic details. Now the basic details for a can like this would to have the can go inside, to make it hollow from the inside. The way you would do this, for example, is by selecting the model, going to edit mode, going to face select by pressing 3, selecting this face, inserting it, and this will have the pretty much the thickness of the can. Once you have inserted, you could extrude this down pretty much. Now if you can't see where the face is, you can pretty much turn on X-ray mode, and now you can see pretty much where the model is. Now here we have created also pretty much the overall shape. Now I can kind of see that this can is a bit tall, so we can slightly, make it smaller. Now we've also created some very basic details. Now one more basic detail, for example, is this part. You see how it's going up? How would you do something like this? Well, we would take a look here. We're pretty much gonna insert this and move it up, G and Z, like this. Again, we've created the overall shape. What other details can we see? We can see this ridge right here. The way we can do this is we can add a loop cut by pressing Ctrl R. We can put this here. We can bevel this. Hold Shift to make the adjustments real easy. And taking a closer look at this, we can go to vertex select, X-ray mode, select all of these vertices, the top vertices. They've not been selecting properly. Select them again. We could scale them, and we've also kind of finished this detail like this. And also we could make this a bit taller, a bit out that way. The other details I can see is this also right here. The way we would do this is the same method pretty much. We're gonna add a loop cut here, and we're gonna bevel it, and we're gonna select all of the bottom vertices, go to X-ray mode, gonna select all of these, and we're gonna scale it in that way. Now the next step, for example, would be to add subdivision. We can go from the modifiers, add modifier, generate, and subdivision surface, and we can push that to 3. Now you see a few issues now. The first issue is I've lost my details. Where was the ridge I created here? And this looks weird. It has this weird problem. Now I have explained this in full detail in another video, but I'll show you it if you haven't seen that video, but I highly recommend that you do. The way we fix this problem is by deleting this face, which is the main problem, and using face fill. So we go to grid fill, and you go to, where the hell is it, grid fill, like this. Now it also creates a second problem, this weird effect, and the way you'd fix this by using control loops. Now control loops, we've also covered that in a separate video, is where you kind of start to refine your details of the model once you add subdivision. Because, for example, you see this ridge that we had here, it looks, where is the ridge? The way you would fix this is by adding a loop cut and pushing it closer to the ridge we added. The more you get, the closer you get to the ridge, the more refined it gets. But also we need to refine it from the other side, so we're gonna add a loop cut here too. Now you see the ridge is back. Same thing goes here. We're gonna add also a ridge here. We're gonna add, a loop cut here, and we're gonna add a loop cut from the inside. Now, if you want to make this loop cut, which you can't see, if you want to make this loop cut, the one going around the grid fill, if you want to make that sharper, for example, you would also need to add a loop cut there. So if you're going to add a loop cut and push it further inside like this, now you can see the ridge we created, or the loop cut we had, is now more refined. That's pretty much control loops for you. But also I highly recommend that you see the other video. Now, we're going to do the same thing here. To refine them, we're going to add a loop cut. We're going to push it up like this. We're going to also add a loop cut. Refine it from here. Now we got a ridge back. And we're going to fix this the same way we fixed the bottom of it. We're going to delete this face. And we're going to select all of these vertices. And we're going to go to face and grid fill. Now you see, it kind of created this issue where, I mean, it fixed the problem, but now we have another problem. The way you fix this is also by using control loops. So we're going to add a control loop by pressing Ctrl R and pushing it down like this. The more closer it gets to the loop cut, the sharper the edge is going to be. Now I'm not going to push it much inside. This looks good now, and now we have the circle back. Again, control loops. Now we're also going to refine the inside edge by adding a loop cut, pushing it up like this. And now we kind of have the detail that we added. We can also get a loop cut here and refine this even more. Now, but this doesn't look like the can. You're right, it doesn't. Because the can has this hole only. This looks more like a cup. How are we going to fix that? Also a simple fix. The way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to delete all of these faces. Because we don't need the inside, so I'm not going to really care about the inside. I would take these inside vertices, insert them, scale them to do this, and you can see there's a small loop going inside. So we're going to scale this a bit like this, and we're going to extrude up. We're going to hold it on the Z-axis like this. Then we're going to extrude, then press S to do this. And we can pretty much just do the grid fill for now. So we're going to go to face and grid fill. Now also we're going to refine them. So we're going to add a loop cut here, but I'm not going to make it that sharp. I'm also going to add a loop cut here, a loop cut here. Now we have something we can work with. So how am I going to make this cut? Well, lucky you, grid fill kind of made the overall shape. We have these faces, so I'm going to pretty much just select these faces. I'm going to delete them. Now you have the hole, pretty much. You could adjust this by, for example, moving this vertex back a bit and doing it like this. I believe it's the opposite way. Yeah, it's the opposite way. Let me undo that. I'm going to do it like this. You see, now we have pretty much the cut. Now you could also add this piece as a separate model. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to figure it out right now. So, I'm going to add this. I'm going to add a cube, for example. I'm going to push it up like this. I'm going to scale it to set the thickness. As you can pretty much see, it's pretty thin. And it's also pretty long a bit. It's a bit long. So yeah, that works. We can also scale it down a bit. Now we need to start adding the details. We can see that it's kind of beveled here and here. How are we going to do this? Add the loop cut here. We're going to scale this on the y-axis like this. But we don't want to scale this part. So we can quickly fix that by going to X-ray mode, selecting all of these, scaling it on the y-axis to 0. Now we're going to take this piece, or this edge, sorry. We're going to bevel it, add some more bevels. Do it that way. Now for the cut, I can add a loop cut here. This is gonna screw up the topology a bit. We can go to top view, add a knife. We're gonna knife this pretty much out. We're gonna enable see-through, and this looks good. We're gonna knife it again. Okay, that didn't work. We need to redo the see-through. So we're gonna press knife and C. And you could align this, but I'm doing this pretty much fast. Now after you do this, we can see that it's cut. So of course we're gonna cut it. We're gonna delete, or we're gonna dissolve this. We could add a loop cut here, a loop cut here, a loop cut here, a loop cut here. We could join these vertices. Then we're gonna delete this face. We're also gonna delete this face, and we're gonna connect these edges that way. Now we have the overall shape. We could adjust this to go back a bit, like this. Now, the design doesn't have to be the same. That's pretty much up to you. Personally, I'm not going to be doing the same design. I'm going to be adding a loop cut here, a loop cut here, and I'm going to select these, and I'm going to bevel them, going here. Sorry, I'm going to bridge them that way. And yeah, I'm pretty much happy with that. Now, once you add subdivision, it's going to screw up a lot of things. So let me add subdivision quickly for you. Here, and subdivide. I mean, it kind of turned out okay, but you can see it kind of looks like soggy. It's pretty much bad. How are we going to fix that? Control loops. We're going to add a control loop here. We're going to bevel it this way. And I'm going to make it only 2. So we have it pretty much refined like this. Now you can see some stressing going on in this area because of the topology, because it's absolutely terrible. But I'm not gonna worry too much about it. I'm also gonna refine this part the same way, and this part the same way. So it's a pretty small piece. Like the topology on it wouldn't really matter unless you're gonna do a very close up of this part or this section. Now we can pretty much go to top view and align it, scale it, sorry, and align it. Now we can't see it because of the we don't have cavity enabled. You can quickly fix that by going here and enabling cavity and enabling it for pose. Now you can kind of see where it is. Now I can take this, I can rotate it on the Z, I can place it where it looks realistic, and then I can align it. So I'm gonna put this on the Z like this way. I'm gonna zoom in. We're gonna make it more realistic. Since this is opened, we're gonna rotate it on the X, move it on the Z, like this, that way. I'm gonna shade auto smooth. I'm gonna refine it a bit more, rotate it on the Y a bit, and fix the clipping. And there you pretty much have it. It's all about how you think when you're doing the model. We're also going to refine this a bit more, some quick adjustments. This is going to script the topology. And there you pretty much have it. Now later on, of course, you could add the textures, the logos, but for here example, I'm going to be doing a very simple material. I'm just going to increase the metallic to 1. Of course, Blender's not responding. Okay. And to preview the material, you can do it from here. Where is the roughness? They changed the entire layout. It's absolutely okay. Here it is. Okay, you adjust the roughness from here. We can make this one, for example, a different color. So we can make this fully blacked out like this, and increase the metallic, lower the roughness. It's pretty much your game to play. Now this is of course a very terrible material setup, but that's not my point. My point is to show you how to think when doing the model. Again, you can further refine this. So how I would quickly refine this is by adding a loop cut. And I'm just going to be adding a few more details. And I'm going to scale this that way, and a loop cut here. I added a very simple detail, but it kind of made the model more realistic. I'm also going to refine it from here. You could do the same thing here. I could bevel this, scale this, scale this out a bit, loop cut, or control that way. It's your game. It's how you look at the model, how you refine it. So to summarize all of this, you need to first understand the starting primitive. So for example, for modeling a phone, we're not going to of course start off with a cylinder, we're going to start off with a cube. You're going to add the smallest details you can, the most basic details you can add, the cuts, the simple cuts, etc. And then you can go full, like God mode on the details once you have the initial model set. Like, I cannot create the base model and start doing the, the ridges and the loop cuts. Take it step by step. Once you're done, you can start adding the details, you can start polishing it, you can start doing the UV unwrapping, you start adding the materials, and pretty much you have it. That's it. Now, if you're interested in downloading this model, you can have it for free on the official site for Holtrix. You can go and download it from there. If you're interested in buying another model, of one of the paid models, to understand how the topology on it is, how the materials are set up, how it was UV unwrapped, etc. You could also find that in the link in the description. But for now, I'm gonna go. See ya.